Hey guys, so I've been paying a lot more attention to like financial channels on YouTube like Patrick Bet David, Ray Dalio, and what's happening right now with the global economy and the US economy and the US dollar is super interesting. And I think more people needs to be paying attention on what's happening right now. Like the dollar is collapsing, there's high inflation, and people are losing their jobs. And in this video, I'm gonna explain why starting an online business today could be the difference maker between you being in massive pain in the next 5 years versus you being able to thrive in this economy. Patrick Bet David came out with an interesting video recently that said that the US government manipulate the inflation rate. So basically in this video, he explains that how in recent times, the US government changed how they calculate the inflation rate so that they can report that the inflation rate is around 6% when in actuality, it's closer to 14%. Some alarming statistics shared in this video is that there's been 270,000 job cuts in Q1 of this year alone, and unemployment rate is up 400%, which is 5 times higher than last year. Last time unemployment rate was this high was back in 2009 if you take out COVID. This unemployment rate is going to lead to further recession. As people lose their jobs, they have less spending power, spending money, so they're going to buy less products, which is going to lead to many other businesses struggling to pay the bills. It's going to lead to a lot of businesses shutting down, which is going to lead to even more job losses. So the times are not going to get any easier for the average American. Now, what Patrick Bet David recommends that people do is to
increase your market value to the best of your ability today. Skills, market value, whatever it may be. Don't just sit there and say, well, you know, it sucks. There's nothing I can do about it. There's a lot you can do about it by increasing your market value.
And I have one such skill set that I'm going to share with you in this video. And in my opinion, the skill set that everybody needs to be focused on is how to leverage the internet, because the internet allows you to start businesses at very low overhead and very low cost, and learn a skill on the internet that allows you to create passive income. And in this video, I'm going to share with you guys what I've been doing since 2014 to create passive income. And I've been using this one skill set over and over again to create $50,000 of passive income on the internet. Now, let me share with you guys some other alarming statistics from this video. Chicken is up 10.5%. Butter is up 26% in price. Milk is up 50%. Eggs is up 170%. Now, I've noticed like egg prices have been really high this past year myself. Coffee is up 13%. Baby food up 10%. Rice and pasta up 15%. Bread is up 15%. Now, if you look at the chart that shows how much food prices have increased since 1990, it's pretty crazy. Shelter is way up as well, up 7.9%. Now, the average American cannot afford to have their rent go up by 8%. Transportation is up 14.6%. Amazon has announced that they've cut 27,000 jobs this year. Tech companies have slashed more than 150,000 jobs this year. A bunch of other companies have laid off 10 to 15% of their workforce. Now, I think it's worth kind of covering inflation. We all know that it happens when governments print a bunch of money and the value of your dollars in your bank account begins to go down. Let's say you have $100,000 in your bank account. When inflation goes up, your buying power of what you can do with that 100 grand goes down. And the basic way to understand it is when there's more money circulating in the environment, more people have money to spend, therefore they're going to start spending more and more of that money, and the supply is not able to keep up with the demand goes up, supply goes down, and when supply goes down, these companies have to raise their prices, so prices of goods and products go up. Now, this has happened over decades. You've heard of stories where people were able to buy a whole dinner for their entire family for $10 30, 40 years ago, but now that's not the case. It happens on a grand scale, but it also happens more in a 5 to 7 year cycle as well. Because over time, debt grows and our government is printing more and more money to overcompensate. Now, let's take, for example, like during the pandemic, when a bunch of businesses received COVID relief funds. For example, a bunch of farmers received a bunch of money for the pandemic, and the farmers would now suddenly have more capital to spend. They would go out and buy more chicken feed, for example, and then the inventory for chicken feed goes down. And so the companies that supply chicken feed, they have to increase the price of the chicken feed. Suddenly, it has an effect where other farmers have to spend more money on their feed, which is going to increase price of chicken and eggs. Now, with the pandemic, there was a lot of supply chain issues as well, which also led to shortage of supplies and increase of prices. Now, once the inflation gets too high, the central bank have to raise the interest rates so that people begin borrowing less money. When people begin to borrow less money, there's less demand in the marketplace, and then it will decrease the price of goods and services out there, and you can decrease the inflation. I highly recommend you guys check out a video by Ray Dalio where he explains how the economy works in a cool animation. And also there's another video called The Changing World Order, which he explains how different nations rise to prominence from a 75 to 100 years kind of period. Once a nation becomes powerful, the average person in that nation becomes too wealthy and too lazy, and then other nations that are more hungry come in and overtake that affluent nation. And the US is currently at a phase right now where we're at the downturn because we've been financially wealthy for way too long. So it really is that saying that hard times create strong men create great times, create weak men create hard times. See, what happens when a country becomes affluent is also the standard of living for that country goes up, and offspring of that nation, they don't want to work as hard anymore, right? And then you got other countries that are willing to work harder, and so they become more productive. Having a strong economy is a byproduct of your country and the people in your country being very productive. But more wealthy that the country becomes, the newer generations of that country is not going to work as hard. Now, I think US has a particular exception though in this rule. So the US nation might be able to rule more than, and this has happened throughout history. Different nations have ruled different time periods. And when I say ruled, what I mean is that these nations were the most productive economic forces on the planet, and their currency became the global reserve currency. So Portugal ruled from 1450 to 1530, so roughly 80 years. Next, Spain from 1530 to 1640, 100 years. Netherlands ruled from 1640 to 1720, which was 80 years. France ruled from 1720 to 1815, 95 years. Great Britain ruled from 1815 to 1920, 105 years. And now the United States has ruled from 1920 to now, which has already been roughly 103 years. Now, what I believe, the US has certain exception because US is such a big continent, and the culture of US is so desired across the world. There is a lot of immigrants that go to the US, and the immigrant has that immigrant mentality, and they're still very hungry and they work very hard in this country. So I think that might allow US to rule more than the average 100 years or so of the past nations, but there's no question in my mind that US is already on the decline of that cycle. There was a startling report that came out that said that
more than 500,000 new jobs were added in December, but around 7 million men between the ages of 25 to 54 aren't working.
Men are missing from the American workforce. New government data shows more men are out, more women are in.
And it's because a large number of American men in particular, men in their prime working years, are actually not working, and they're not even looking for work.
This is going to have cascading negative impact on the US economy. Again, another reason or signs that as a global powerhouse is on its decline and tougher times are ahead for Americans. An analogy that I like to use is famous examples of fighters throughout history. For example, fighters like Mike Tyson or Conor McGregor, when they were on the come up, when they were broke, they were training really hard and they were almost untouchable, right? They almost had this like aura of invincibility. And what happened when they made it big and they started making millions of dollars, right? There's a famous quote that said that it's hard to wake up in the morning and go for a run when you wake up on satin sheets. And it's like the micro shows what happens on the macro, right? This is human nature. When we get affluent, when we get rich, we lose that hunger and that drive. What happened to these guys' careers, right? Once they became big, they started to overextend themselves. Once you become wealthy, you become a target as well. So they became a target. They got involved with too many the wrong types of people came after them. They overextended themselves, much like all these other nations. When they got affluent, they overextended themselves. They went into too many different nations on the offense to try to control other nations, and they overextended themselves. And these fighters, they get involved with too many different business ventures. There's movies that they get involved with, and suddenly they don't have that singular focus that they once had that made them a strong fighter. For Mike Tyson, it was his ex-wife, Robin Givens, and the corrupt promoter Don King. That's a famous story where those two individuals completely derailed Mike Tyson's focus, his mental energy, and his career as a whole. Once these fighters made millions, all the distractions of the world came into their life. The partying, the women, the drugs. This is the classical story of a fighter where money comes in and ruins them. And much the same way, it happens the same way with these nations. When Rome became prominent, debauchery and all the partying and all that stuff went up in that culture. That was the starting sign of their decline. But a really interesting thing to understand is that throughout history, there were always individuals that won, regardless of what part of the cycle that the nation was at. And these individuals were individuals that decided to make proactive decisions instead of being reactionary. See, history only tells its story through the lowest common denominator, which are the regular people that you see yourself on a day-to-day basis. History doesn't tell the story of people that actually killed it during these difficult times, because those people are few and far in between. So to be proactive, I think it's really important to understand what money is and the nature of money. To me, money is a mechanism that traps human life force energy. If you created a product and it took you 10 hours of your human effort to create that product and 30 years of skills, that product is actually going to be worth some value. And I can use money to exchange human labor and effort and time and get that product. And then you can use that money to solve other problems in your life. Maybe you need to send your kids to school. There's only 24 hours in a given day. So you need to use money to exchange your time and human energy so that you can hire other people or get other products and services to solve other problems in your life, because 24 hours is not enough time to solve all your life problems. So when you begin understanding that money is like energy, and energy is fluid like water. So this is why money behaves like water. We use a lot of the similar words as water that describes money. So for example, we use words like liquidity and currency. Currents of a river collect at the banks of the river. So being proactive means to understand that money is always flowing somewhere. It's always on the move. So all you have to do is predict where the money is flowing to next as society and globally in macroeconomics, and position yourself correctly, and you're gonna get wet. Commercial real estate right now is crashing right now because people are no longer going to malls, and the pandemic really accelerated that. But it's not like money has dried up at these stores. Money is simply flowing to more online stores. So next is to understand that even during a recession, where is money still exchanging hands? Where is money still flowing? Now, Ray Dalio's advice to become financially strong as a nation and as individuals is to...
You can't spend more than you earn. Just a basic law of economics. You can't keep spending more than you earn.
The other way to become financially strong, Ray says, is to increase your income. But Ray says over and over again that it's very difficult to increase your income. And I agree with Ray that it's difficult to raise your income if you are stuck in the old paradigm. I used to work for an auto parts company, and I worked there for 3 years, and I got a raise one year, and the raise was the standard 5% raise on my annual income. And once I got the raise after working there for 3 years, what that came out to on my monthly paycheck was $60 more. But this is the old paradigm. Ray Dalio gives great advice, but he's also 73 years old. Most of his adult life, he didn't grow up with the internet. The new paradigm that exists for each and every one of us is to tap into the internet, create an online business that has very little overhead, and be able to be at your home and create digital assets that allows you to tap into economies where it's still bustling even during the recession, or it allows you to tap into economies of other countries. So let me give you an example. During a recession, people are going to stop purchasing frivolous items like cars, going on vacation, just random other products that people have been buying online. A lot of the e-com brands are struggling today. But what's not struggling is to understand that my favorite business model, which is local lead generation, where we set up websites that generate leads for local services like a plumber, roofer, towing company. Even during a recession, if your roof breaks, you're gonna need to hire a roofer. If you get stranded on the side of the highway, you need to call a tow truck company. If your toilet backs up, you need to call a plumber. So this business model of local lead generation allows us to continually stay profitable even during a downturn in the economy. We have a coaching program of 7,000 students and counting. I have a link in the description. But basically, when you set up these local lead generation websites, each site makes anywhere from $500 to $2,000 a month of passive income, basically, and it's 95% profit margin. But when these sites are making $500 to $2,000 a month, it's making our clients a lot more money than that. So they're happy to pay us month after month. Now, 1 to 2 of these websites, let's just say the average makes $750 a month. If you have 2 of those sites, you're now making an extra $1,500, and that's gonna be a lot for most families to offset the inflation of living expenses. And these sites you can build part-time while you're working on your current job, right? So this is just another great example of what Patrick Bet-David means when he says during times like this, it's really important to first pay attention and see all the red sirens going off everywhere, and get really serious about investing in your skills, investing in your knowledge. And when you get more skills, you increase your value in the marketplace. Now, lead generation is a very valuable skill because small business owners, they need leads to survive. They need customers calling them, right? But a lot of business owners, they don't know how to work the internet. They don't know how to build websites. They don't know how to rank websites in Google. Building a website is becoming easier, admittedly. There's different AI tools coming out, but still ranking a website in Google is still not an easy skill set to figure out for small business owners. So you can come in, learn that skill, and offer value to these small business owners, especially business owners like plumbers, roofers, towing companies, these necessity services where you know there's always going to be demand even during the down economy. It could be a very smart idea to protect yourself and your family from increasing recession that's taking place today and in inflation. I think ultimately when people struggle in any nation or any economy, we have no one but ourselves to blame, because remember, while Rome was falling, actually the consumption went up. In much the same way, the only reason you can be in pain in this down economy is to not be paying attention, because we are too distracted today with movies, Netflix, sports, TikTok. There's an abundance of entertainment out here, even YouTube, right? Abundance of entertainment out here where we can like turn a blind eye to this increasing inflation, which is not some made up thing. There's an actual increase in these food prices and gas prices and oil and transportation prices. We can either turn a blind eye to it, and these increases are happening at a faster rate than the average American salary is able to go up. So this leads to a lower quality of life across the board. But do you sit there and blame the government, or do you get proactive and go learn some new skills? Because what I'm beginning to understand is that most people aren't proactive. Most people are reactionary. So if you, I don't know what the exact percentage, let's just say 10% of the population is proactive, right? There's not that much competition once you train yourself to be proactive, once you go learn new skills. Like, most people are consumers. Most people aren't producing. Most people are not learning new skills, learning anything new after they graduated college. But the global economy, and especially with the internet, it's changing so rapidly that you can't expect to just have your college degree to make you safe into the future. So if you just take the plunge and go start learning some new skills today, you're going to be amazed, in my opinion, at how quickly your life can turn around and how vastly better your life can become. In my opinion, lead generation is one of the best online business models out there. I have a link in the description where you can find out more info. And ultimately, I think one of the best strategy to keep yourself strong in these kind of difficult times is to create also a strong network of other individuals on the same path, on the cutting edge as well. Joining our network of 7,000 entrepreneurs, we have some of the best digital marketers in our group, which is what gives us the financial confidence into the future. If you don't have money to join our program right now, you can always subscribe to this channel, because we're going to continue to release more videos like this, and subscribe to other channels like Patrick Bet-David or Ray Dalio, and these individuals that are giving you a lot of cutting edge information for free on what you can do to survive in these recession. And I think we have to get really serious when you look at the larger cycle of changing global orders that's happening right now, where US has a lot of problems domestically and internationally. And I think the way to make yourself less fragile is to understand the power of the internet, learn some internet skills that allows you to tap into different economies around the world at the comfort of your home, and allows you to set up businesses and digital assets that allows you to get in front of where money is flowing to next. So I hope you like this video. Give a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will see you on the next one.